I humiliated my wife at our anniversary dinner. Her 6-word reply left me speechless. I always thought I was a good husband. I brought home a steady paycheck. I fixed things around the house. I showed up to every dinner my wife's family hosted, even the ones I hated. So when our 10th anniversary rolled around, I figured I had earned the right to relax a little, to joke around, to be the funny guy at the table instead of the serious one. I did not know that night would be the last time I ever called her my wife. Her name is Lauren. We met in our 20s, back when I was still waiting tables and she was finishing her degree in accounting. She used to laugh at everything I said, even when it wasn't funny. I liked that about her. It made me feel bigger than I was. Somewhere along the way, 10 years and 2 kids later, that laughter turned into something quieter. She still smiled at my jokes, but it wasn't the same. I told myself it was just marriage settling into routine. I never once considered that I was the reason the light in her eyes had dimmed. We planned a dinner at the restaurant where we had our first date. A small Italian place with candles on every table, and a waiter who still remembered our names after all these years. Lauren wore the blue dress I liked, the one she bought for our 5th anniversary and never got to wear because I canceled that dinner for a work thing. She had her hair done. She looked happy, hopeful even, like this night was going to matter. I invited our closest friends to join us for dessert, a surprise I thought would make the night special. 6 of them showed up right on cue, champagne in hand, ready to toast a decade of marriage. Lauren's face lit up when she saw them walk in. For a moment, I felt like the husband I used to be, the one who planned things, who paid attention. Then somebody asked how we'd made it work for 10 years, and I opened my mouth before I thought about what would come out of it. I said Lauren was lucky I hadn't traded her in for a younger model yet, and that marriage was basically just finding someone whose flaws you could tolerate longer than everyone else's. The table laughed. I kept going, because the laughter felt good, because I was the center of attention, because for once I wasn't the boring husband who worked too much. I joked about her weight after the kids. I joked about how she used to be more fun before she became, in my words, a tired soccer mom. I called her cooking a downgrade from her mother's. Every joke landed. Every joke cost me something I couldn't see yet. Lauren sat there through all of it, her smile getting smaller and smaller, until it wasn't a smile anymore. Just a straight line she was holding together out of habit. Our friends started to notice too. The laughter thinned out. Someone cleared their throat. Someone else suddenly found their phone very interesting. But I didn't stop, because I genuinely thought this was what marriage looked like after 10 years. A little roasting, a little teasing. Nothing that couldn't be walked back with a hug later. Then the waiter brought out the anniversary cake. The one Lauren had ordered weeks ago, with both our names written in gold icing. He set it down between us and asked if we wanted to say a few words before cutting it. I grinned and told the table to give my wife a round of applause for putting up with me, since apparently patience was her love language and complaining was mine. Everyone laughed except her. Lauren stood up slowly. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't cry, though I could see it building behind her eyes. She looked at me the way you look at a stranger who has just told you something you didn't need to hear. And she said 6 words that emptied the entire room of sound. "I don't recognize you anymore, David." That was it. No storming out, no thrown napkin, no scene beyond those 6 words. She picked up her purse, thanked our friends for coming, and walked out of the restaurant into the parking lot while I sat there with a fork halfway to a cake that suddenly felt like the wrong shape for the night. I want to tell you I chased after her right away, but I didn't. I sat there stunned, replaying the last 20 minutes in my head, trying to figure out which joke had done it, as if there was only one. Our friends left quietly, one by one, until it was just me and a cake with our names on it, going soft under the restaurant lights. When I finally got home, her car was already gone. She had packed a bag, taken the kids to her sister's, and left a note on the counter that said she needed space to think about what our marriage had actually become. Not what it looked like from the outside. With our matching Christmas cards and our steady house payments, but what it actually felt like to live inside it as the person I made jokes about. I called her 43 times that week. She didn't pick up until the 5th day, and when she finally did, her voice was calm in a way that scared me more than yelling ever could. She told me something I have not been able to forget since. She said that for years she had absorbed my jokes as affection, told herself that's just how I show love, that men like me tease the people we care about. But somewhere in the last few years, she said, the teasing stopped feeling like love and started feeling like permission. Permission I had given myself to say anything about her in public because I assumed she would always just take it. She wasn't wrong. I had assumed exactly that. We are separated now, working through what comes next with a mediator instead of a marriage counselor, because she told me plainly that counseling requires two people who still see each other as a team. And right now, she isn't sure I ever saw her as anything other than an audience for my jokes. My daughter asked me last week why Mom isn't coming home for my birthday, and I didn't have an answer that didn't make me sound like exactly the man Lauren described in that note. I keep thinking about that dinner, about the version of that night where I said something kind instead, where I stood up and told the table that 10 years with Lauren was the best decision I ever made, that she was smarter than me, more patient than me, and better than I deserved. That version of the night exists somewhere, in some life I didn't choose. Instead, I chose 6 words of my own reckoning, delivered calmly, by the one person who had spent a decade being generous enough to laugh at my expense. I am not writing this for sympathy. I am writing it because somewhere out there is a husband who thinks his jokes at his wife's expense are harmless, who thinks longevity in marriage is the same thing as immunity from consequences. It isn't. 10 years bought me nothing that one careless night couldn't unravel. If you are that husband, ask yourself honestly whether the people laughing at your table are laughing with you, or whether the person across from you has simply run out of ways to tell you that it hurts. Lauren still hasn't asked for a divorce. She hasn't ruled it out either. What she asked for, in the only conversation we've had since that night, was time and honesty, 2 things I apparently hadn't been giving her even when I thought I was. I don't know yet how our story ends, but I know exactly how it broke, and I know I was the one holding the fork.